Hey friends, welcome back to my garden. Well, today I'm going to spend some time planting out some of my plant starts. I've got a bunch of pumpkins, I have some Roselle plants, cucumber, and a few other things I need to get in the ground. So if you saw my last video, you watched as I added this irrigation tubing to this bed. I had to fill it with store-bought soil because I just don't have enough compost for everything. But it is ready to go, and I need to add some amendments. One of the things I'm going to add is this mycorrhizal. That's a mouthful. It's just an amendment that promotes root production, and I actually used it when I uppotted all of my pumpkins, and I'm actually really pleased at how well it did. I'm about a week behind when I actually wanted to put these out, but I think they're going to be fine, and I'm going to go ahead and add this and some of my own worm castings. Feel free to follow along, and let's get some planting done. I'm just going to take a little sprinkleful for each one of these holes, not being very scientific. And then I have more starts than I have really space in this bed, so I'm actually going to have to sacrifice a couple of these, and I'm going to go with the best looking ones and just compost the rest. First we have the snowball. I'll gently separate these out, and I'm going to kind of bury them deep because they are a little bit leggy. There we go. The first plant planted for spring. Snowball. Get it nice and deep there. Now for the worm castings. If you haven't seen my video about my worm composting, I'll link it up above. I have some European night crawlers, and they have made me a nice amount of worm castings. So I'm going to plant some Roselle hibiscus this year again. I've grown this 2 or 3 times, and they produce the prettiest flower, and then what's called a coccyx, I think it's what it's called. I'll put it on the screen because I'm sure that's not right. And you can make really good tea and jam and syrup. They get really large, so I'm going to plant 3 in this 20-inch pot. I always love to come out the next day after I plant seedlings just to see how they're actually doing, if they're falling over and sad and wilty or look like they're happy and thriving. Sometimes they do go through a little bit of a shock period. These have been hardened off, which means I've been putting them outside in the sunlight and in the colder hours of the evening, and I think one night I left them overnight. I think they're pretty weatherproof right now, given we don't have any more freezes, which I don't think we will. So I think they're going to do great. By the way, these are double click and bright light cosmos. So I'm going to plant out my holy basil in this pot, and then I also have some Genovese basil that I'm going to put somewhere else, undetermined at this point. Oh, these tomatoes are ready to be planted. I can grow pretty much any kind of basil here, but this is the first time I've tried holy basil, so I'm crossing my fingers that they grow as well as everything else. Well, I think that's it for me today. I got some pumpkins planted, holy basil, some cosmos, and my Roselle. The only thing I wanted to get in the ground that I didn't was my tomatoes, but I have to do a little bit of bed prepping before that happens. So I will tackle that tomorrow. Do you see anything missing from this garden bed? Every seedling that I planted about a month ago is now dead. And my first instinct was to not show this, but I think it's important to show your failures as well as your successes, even especially on social media, because I think there's an illusion that we have to have it all together before we share anything publicly. But I don't know, honestly, what happened here. So I think I've narrowed it down to one of three things, or actually it could be a combination of all three things. First possibility is it was too cold. Since I planted these out, we've had a couple of nights that it dipped down into the very high 30s, not enough to freeze, but maybe enough to kill my tender little seedlings, and we had a lot of wind, and I literally came out and had broken stems on several of them. So I think weather could have been a huge part of it. Secondly, I think it could be due to the fact that I transplanted these rather than direct sowed them. I don't know that I've ever tried transplanting them before, so that could be the reason why they actually prefer to be direct sown rather than transplanted. Then finally, my guess is that could be the soil. You saw earlier in this video me filling and preparing this bed with brand new soil from Kellogg's. I use their organic garden mix, and I've always had really good success with them, even on my first year beds. And I have some beds we'll go take a look at in a minute that are totally fine, but maybe this top layer was too hot and active. I don't know, but these are completely gone. This is the only one that has any sort of life left in it. I've gone ahead and direct sown replacement seeds in each of these spots, so hopefully something will start to pop up here, and we'll see if we can get a second chance at this bed. Beyond my pumpkin fail, everything is in bloom. It's just such a pretty time of year. I love the early spring. My poppies are popping off. The violas are living their best life, loving this weather. And my pepper plants are starting to come back to life after the winter, at least that one is. This guy's thinking about it. Peas are looking good. So this poor broccoli, I don't know if it's even worth harvesting at this point. It just didn't ever look, I don't know, normal. I just kept letting it go, and this is what it's kind of turned into. So maybe the seeds I used were saved from a previous year, and they were cross-pollinated with something. They just didn't look broccoli-ish. I think I'll just be taking this guy out and using him for compost. If this is a variety you are familiar with and you think that it'd be worth saving, please comment below and let me know what you think. I'm willing to try, but I'm not willing to poison myself. So I've been having a little bit of a dilemma with my established beds in particular, because like most of these are 24 inches, I believe. That gives it a lot of soil depth to compress over the years. Sometimes I feel like I'm filling an endless hole. I always seem to have a big gap from the top of the planter to the top of the soil. I really prefer having the soil level right at the top of the bed. So what I'm doing here, as you can see, I have a very lumpy bed. And what I'm doing here is trying to get my tomatoes all in the ground while waiting for my carrots to finish up, but I didn't want to plant my tomatoes at the level they were at. I wanted to bring everything up as much as possible. So you can see I have sort of divots in this bed, and as things kind of come out, I harvest these carrots and my lettuce over here. I'll fill in that empty space with more soil, so everything's kind of brought up at one time. I sure hope you can hear me. It is so windy out here. Spring in southern Arizona. So my dilemma has been how to deal with planting new crops with low soil levels, and how to deal with established perennials that I don't want to lose, but I need to bring the soil level up. And sometimes I have up to a 12-inch gap between the soil level and the top of the bed. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment for me on some of these beds. So stay tuned. We'll see what we can figure out. My tomatoes are actually looking okay. I'm using the same soil here that I used in my pumpkin death bed over there, but everything so far is going okay in this bed, and we'll just keep adding soil as things progress. So you saw earlier in my video that I went through great lengths to dig up this lavender. Once I started pruning it back, there was immediately more growth. So I need to go back through here again and kind of clean this up. Maybe I'll get a bloom next spring. I'm not holding out any hope for this spring. I'm crossing fingers. This may be a success story because I really loved this lavender plant. It was a great producer for me for about 4 years, and suddenly it stopped. So we'll see. I'm really happy with how it's doing so far. I think that's going to be it for this video. There's still a lot to be done in the garden. The weather is so nice except for this wind. Still have some starts I need to plant out, which I'm sorely behind on, and some seeds I need to plant. Spring is definitely springing and I'm loving it. If you're a gardener, I hope things in your garden are going well. Let me know your challenges. If you have any suggestions on my pumpkins, I'm all ears. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Oh, okay, we're going up here.